All right, let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, where we're going to be diving into what's new in Sage Fixed Assets 2025.1 release. For our agenda today, we'll be covering introductions, our Sage Fixed Assets Ally. It's your personal assistant, if you don't know that already. This year's tax updates, enhancements and issue resolutions. Super excited to have Angie Bolton talk to you about our construction in progress or CIP application, which you may know as planning. And then why you should be on subscription and at our Q&A and feedback time. So then, without further ado, let's get on to the important bits. Let's meet the experts who will guide us through these exciting updates. Today, our facilitator is Ed Williams. Hello, Ed.
Hi, how are you doing?
Doing good, thank you. Would you mind kicking us off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for joining. My name is Ed Williams. I am a Sage Fixed Asset Certified Implementation Consultant. I am also the sales engineer. I've been with Sage for 9 years. And I'm excited to be facilitating today's discussion. I've had the privilege of speaking with many of you about your experience with Sage Fixed Assets. And today we have a stellar panel of experts who will help answer some of the questions that you have as a customer. First, I would like to introduce Julie Dowling. Julie, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. Hi. Thank you, Ed. Welcome, everybody, to our webinar today. My name is Julie, as Ed mentioned, and I have been a trainer with Sage Fixed Assets for 12 years now. And I really enjoy working with our students, our customers, and as they learn and grow in their product knowledge with Sage Fixed Assets.
Thank you, Julie. Now, the next person I'd like to introduce is Ann Doney. Ann, tell us about yourself.
Hi, Ed. Thank you. Well, as a CPA, my past experience was in auditing and public accounting, but then I got into software development quite a while ago with the Sage Fixed Assets team, and I've had the pleasure of working with them for over 17 years now. As product owner and development manager, I love to hear from customers and do my best along with my wonderful team to bring you the features and functionality you need. Thanks.
Thank you, Ann. And I love the things that you guys are doing. And Carl, tell us about yourself.
Thank you, Ed. So, I've been with Sage for several years, and before that, I was a customer, giving me a clear perspective on the needs of our customers. And in my roles as senior business analyst and as a CPA, I work on feature design, research gap and tax rule updates, and participate in webinars.
Thank you, Carl. And last but definitely not least, let's have Angie Bolton introduce herself.
Thanks, everybody. So I'm Angie Bolton, formerly Chase, and in the 26 years of everything fixed assets, breathe, eat, sleep, drink, very passionate about them. Came from the consulting background where I implemented hundreds and hundreds of use cases of Sage Fixed Assets and all their modules across all industries, mid-market to enterprise. Then rolled into a power user role myself with a customer of mine, where there I worked in a Fortune 500, managing $2 billion worth of fixed assets across 120 global locations, which then brought me here, full circle, to Sage as their senior product manager of these products. I'm super excited to share this with you today and talk about the new planning as well, /now CIP.
Thank you, Angie. And as you can see, we have the experts here. But before we move on, let's take a quick poll. And the first poll we're going to present is biggest challenges. And as you can see, what's the biggest challenge you face with managing your fixed assets? We're going to take 1 minute, and if you could, select an answer.
And Ed, I believe we'll be sharing those responses in a moment. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I was going to hum the Jeopardy song. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, so now you see the results of the poll. And we can see keeping up with asset acquisitions and disposals gets the highest answer response. And we appreciate that. Now we are getting ready to get into it. So, Julie, as a trainer of Sage Fixed Assets, you must get questions on specific topics or customers looking for quick answers that they can get addressed in a timely manner when working in Sage Fixed Assets. Can you share how?
Can I share some of these different Sage Fixed Assets Ally, our new key element here that we have that's been added, enhancements to our Sage Fixed Assets Ally? Well,
Absolutely.
I want to go ahead and do that for sure. So we have a couple of slides here, but I'm going to go right in to some of the heads up information that you're going to see on the enhancements of Sage Fixed Assets Ally. Because you're right, Ed, I do get all kinds of questions that are asked. You know, how do I get help here? So I do have a couple slides, and then I'll go into the actual content here. We'll go into the program and look at Ally. So as you mentioned, Ed, Ally can help me answer some questions. It's our AI knowledge assistant, and it helps you find information quickly and efficiently. So I tell my students all the time, we have Ally and we've added these enhancements, and we have a new chat button. The chat button is going to clear for new inquiries. So you'll have a new chat button. We also have a copy chat button, and that copy chat to the clipboard takes that information that you have in your chat and it moves it over to a document that you can use for future reference. Now, we didn't stop there with enhancements. We do have additional enhancements as well. A help for technical information and security, as well as chat with a human when you want to talk to a human with our support team, as well as link to our Sage Resource Center. Now, we also are going to want to hear what you think about Ally, right? We're going to want ongoing feedback. It's always welcomed. So let's go in now. I'm going to share out my screen, as I mentioned before, so we can get an idea and see Ally working and how you can use it kind of every day here. So you should see my screen here. My screen is now in the Sage Fixed Assets Depreciation Program. And one of the big questions I get, Ed, as you were saying, I get different questions and whatnot that happen. And one of them that I get quite often is, how do I create a group? And you can see I have a group here on my list view of all the different attachments to these assets. The little eye there tells me I have an attachment. Now, Ally, my AI assistant, and who wouldn't want an assistant when you're working, right? I have questions that come up as I'm working. I can actually type in here, I can say, you know, how do I create a group? And I can do that here, and I can ask this question. And what happens is my assistant will open up my AI technology, that open AI technology I have here. And in those keywords in bold, you'll see step by step how I'm creating this group. Now, I mentioned in the PowerPoint, there are new buttons here, and those are the new buttons on the right-hand side. One of them being copy chat. That is that button I mentioned that you can copy your text to your clipboard, and you can bring that into documentation for future reference for yourself. Maybe you're building some documentation, you'd have that. You also have that little question mark here to learn more about Ally. So I want to learn more about technical information. We have technical data here specified, as well as all the information for learning more about this open AI technology. You can get that as well as security measures all here with my help by that little question mark on that right-hand side of your screen. Now, in real time, as you're working, questions come up, right? I saw there was a group. Maybe I didn't know how to create a group. I'm new. Now I know how to do that, but I saw there was an image. Well, how do I add an image? And I can create kind of this conversation with Ally, right? With my AI assistant of Ally and these different enhancements, I can also clear this chat. So here I've got my additional information. So as I'm working in real time, I can get the information I need. Now, new chat, right? That new button is going to clear, and I'm ready for the new conversation that I want to have with Ally. Now at the bottom, we've got examples of questions that can pop up as you're working, and I certainly can go in and I can click on those and I can get the answers that I need really at my fingertips. So helps with your productivity and really makes everything effective as you're working in the actual program with Sage Fixed Assets. Now I mentioned the human touch down at the bottom. If you feel like you need to talk to a human, well, we have that for you. Built in, we have the available times for that human on that right-hand side that you can talk to, information that you will fill out, and there is a form that you're going to fill out for that. And you can see here there is some information that you would go ahead and fill out and speak to our chat, as well as additional information here to that Sage Resource Center that I had mentioned in that PowerPoint. Now here I can go ahead and be connected to Sage Community Hub, where I have blogs and all kind of information about Sage products posted there. Sage KB Library, where I can find out about knowledge base, some technical articles, and of course, Sage University Learning. As an instructor, I would love to have you in a class, and so that's where you'll find out all our options for learning all about Sage Fixed Assets products. Now, the last type of link that you're going to see here, really at the bottom, you're going to notice in the actual program here, you're going to see it right over on that right-hand side is going to be tell us what you think of Ally. So again, I can go ahead and launch these links that will take us to these sites. And one of them is your feedback, right? We want that feedback from you. So I'm excited about the enhancements, and I really look forward, and I know our product development team looks forward to all the feedback that you have for future releases of Ally. Back to you, Ed.
Julie. Thanks, Julie. That is impressive, and it's a time saver. If you have not used Ally, you really have to do that. And now we'll turn to Ann to hear about what's new on the tax front. Ann, what changes are in the release for U.S. tax compliance?
Hey, Ed, thank you. Well, they are straightforward this year, as they have been the last couple of years, based on the legislation, the largest legislation that was passed in 2017, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. I'm going to go through them chronologically as they affect the different tax years. Now, the first change in this release will be the addition of your Form 4562 for the 2024 tax filing year. We still have the 2023 fileable form available also. And the 2022 form is no longer available, but you can run any year, 2022 or a future year, and see it on Form 4562. It will appear on the 2024 form if it's, and say at the top, not a fileable form, if you're running it for a year other than that 2024 actual year. So let's talk about the changes in this release that impact 2025. We have the inflationary changes that come about each year. And the first one is Section 179 expensing. It is up about $30,000 to a maximum amount of $1,250,000 in 2025. And the SUV maximum amount for Section 179 write-off is listed in the right column there, and that is up to $31,300 per vehicle that is an SUV under the IRS's description of what an SUV is. Now, speaking of cars, there's also the so-called luxury vehicle depreciation caps. In 2024, if you bought a vehicle that was a passenger vehicle that had to be depreciated under these rules, you would start to hit these caps that are placed for each year, the assets in service life at a $30,000 price point. In 2025, you can see it starts at $38,800. And that's because of the bonus rate having changed those 2 years. In 2025, it's down to 40% bonus. So you might have already noticed the amounts are down. 179 amounts were up because of inflation, but the amounts are down for 2025 for the caps. And inflation did go down for new cars, which is the factor that's used in this limitation, is the new car index only as of October each year, and it went down about 1.3% as of last October. Moving along to bonus depreciation, we have the whole schedule of how it's been running for the last several years here. And you can see in bold what we've added in this release. So you'll now be able to place assets in service like for budgeting purposes and tax projection purposes in 2026 and 2027, and see the 20% rate and the 40% rate for longer production property and certain aircraft for 26, and then that 20% rate for those two items also for 2027. So how do you make those changes to a lot of assets at one time? Many of you are probably familiar with the 168 allowance switch. So there are updates there also. For those that may not be familiar with it, it is off of the depreciation menu, and it changes all the assets you select to the bonus percent that you select, if they're eligible, or you can switch it to not take any bonus. And it also prevents you from changing to an invalid percent in a given year. For example, it won't let you take 100% in 2024 because we've got that intelligence built in for you to reduce the chance of mistakes and errors. So certainly to the switch, we've added the 20 and 40% options for 26 and 27, but we've also added a pre-switch confirmation of the number of qualifying assets. And you can run this for any, it'll appear for any year that you're switching assets for, any tax year. And this can give you the increased confidence of the number of qualifying assets for the switch that you've selected, an additional confirmation. So quickly here, like there's a message that will, in this example, says 12 assets are selected and they qualify for switching to a 168 method, the MA, SB, or AA depreciation methods, and in this example with an 80% allowance. It does say, or instances of multiple books, so maybe you had 2 books selected and you're changing 2 books at the same time. So there's a total of 6 assets times 2 books would make 12 instances. Similarly, if you're switching to no depreciation allowance, that would be the system will switch all your assets to the appropriate MF, SF, or AD method for you, and it'll let you know how many qualify for that switch. And finally, if maybe you just made an error somewhere along the way, and it'll let you know that none of your assets qualify, maybe you picked the wrong book or something. So we hope you find those items helpful. 2 last things I want to cover. The 168 allowance percent field will continue to include 50%, and that's for qualified reuse and recycled property that's been effective since 2008 and continues indefinitely. And we've also heard from a few of our customers that have filing requirements in Mississippi. And we know that Mississippi now allows 100% first year bonus in 2024. And the federal rules that's in our product do not allow that. So we are likely to add that in the next release. And the workaround option for 2024 for now would be to use a custom depreciation method or the other amount on the Section 179 dialog. And if this Mississippi's rules impact you or something else, please do go to our Sage Fixed Assets Ideas portal and vote on this option. You'll get this deck later and you'll have that link.
Thank you, Ann. That concludes the tax-related changes, and those are very important. Now, let's talk about enhancements and issues resolution. Carl, this release has several improvements that are listed on your slide as part of an invoice. Why do you list it that way?
Hey, thank you, Ed. There were a few reasons I used the invoices. First, it's a great way to show you, our customers, the additional value you get with this release. The customer suggested ideas with the asterisk show how much Sage values input from you, our customers. And finally, I will use one of the graphics for a demo in a few moments. So right now, I'm going to start a demo in Sage Fixed Assets. The first items that were listed on that slide were Assistance Center, then a change in preferences, a change in Image Manager, and then Print Asset Detail. So we're headed to the Assistance Center. In this bottom of the Assistance Center now, you'll see that there's a training section. And this gives you quicker access to Sage Learning resources. So I'll click on this first link, and what you'll see is Getting Started, your guide through the learning curve. And this is an especially useful place for customers new to the product, or for those who need a refresher on using the product. The next link goes to the Refresh Sage University website with improved navigation and content. So we understand that many of our customers need to know more about our product, have questions, come here. The Sage Learning sites have been improved based on response from customer communications. And we're going to close that. And now I'm going to go to File, Preferences. I'm only going to discuss this first checkbox. Some of our customers have had trouble with the desired default asset group loading in their next depreciation session. We did a lot of work behind the scenes to ensure that the group opened and used the previous session by a customer reopens when returning to use depreciation. If the group being used happened to be deleted in a multi-user environment, for example, then the default group reverts to all complete assets. So come here, check this box to ensure that the asset group you want to use the next time you open depreciation loads for you. So we can close that. And we're going to go back to asset list. I have this company, and magically, this asset with an An attachment is already highlighted. So I am going to go into this asset. And several customers had requested a way to rotate images loaded through Image Manager. This asset has an image loaded, as you can tell, from the icon and Images tab. So let's take a look. Sometimes images are loaded. Oh, look. See, sometimes these images are loaded 90 or 180 degrees. So really, the only way that you can read them is using the dog head tilt approach. Now, each view screen has a rotate button. So up here, we see the rotate, the common symbol for rotating an image, and we can rotate like that, and we keep going. But also, the view screen has a rotate button. This is such a big screen, but here we go. Up top on the right on the screen also, there's a rotate button. The rotation is not permanent. Each time you view the image, it'll have to be rotated. Maybe that's a future enhancement that we're considering. All right, we had an issue with print asset detail. This is kind of a quirky issue, and it's more of a fix than an enhancement. But for the customers who had the issue, it's definitely an enhancement. I will select all these assets, 17, 18, 21, 23, 26, 100. After I do this, there's a poll question to ask you which assets I selected. And then we're going to go to File, Print Asset Detail. How many of you knew this feature was there? This dialog opens. I hit Unselect All. Then select the Main tab. Previously, when printing the Main tab, all the assets in a group were not being printed. So instead of waiting for this to print, I am just going to magically pull up the output that I did previously. And if you happen to remember the numbers, there's assets 17, 18, 21, 23, 26, and 100. So now all the assets print in the Main tab. So before we end the demo, I want to show you one more thing I am going to do. How do I create group in SFA Ally? And that's the same question Julie asked. There it is, a little slow. Do you notice anything different about on my screen from her screen? So remember this view here on SFA Ally on my machine.
Carl, right?
Yeah, they are.
She had it in gold.
Yeah. So let's go back to the slide presentation. All right. There we go. Thank you. And to go to the next slide, please. There we are. And as Ann mentioned, we have asterisks and bold. So the question is, so Ann, I'm going to ask you a question. In Julie's presentation, as Ann mentioned, SFA Ally had all the keywords in bold, but mine has them with asterisks. Is this ability to make this change in a product, is it breaking news or is it breaking news?
My response, it is breaking news.
Yes, thank you, Ed. Yes, it is breaking news because if you're attending today, you are the first customers to hear this news. Getting the latest product news is another good reason to attend our webinars. So right after the tax update release, Chatbase, the AI engine behind SFA Ally, changed how keywords were denoted. using asterisks instead of bold text in replies. So we are finalizing the fix for this issue, and you'll be able to do it soon too. A knowledge base article describing how to implement the change is coming any day. We'll let you know when it's ready, probably through Community Hub. And you see here, SFA intact integration is the next issue. Sage Fixed Assets will now accept any alphanumeric Sage Intacct ID from the Sage Intacct ERP product. While many companies use numbers for IDs, others use letters or a combination of letters, numbers, and characters. So just as a side note, if you're looking for a new ERP system, consider Sage Intacct. It is a quality product that integrates with Sage Fixed Assets in multiple ways. So I don't usually go around recommending ERP products to others, but I have recommended Sage Intacct. Monthly projection report. So when included in the batch of reports, the monthly projection report was generating an error. This issue has been fixed, so feel free to include the monthly projection report in your batch report runs again. And if you don't have batch report, you may be in a light product. It's available in the standard, depreciation, network, and Premier. And this last change only applies to Premier customers of the Microsoft ODBC driver and is a technical change. It will be mostly interesting to a system admin or an IT person. So updating to version 17 keeps SFA technology current and improves performance and security. So this release has a Microsoft 17 ODBC driver. So we get many of our, just to let you know, if you notice all the asterisks there, actually I didn't really discuss this much, but if you see the asterisks on the screen on the certain items, those all were customer ideas. So we get many of our ideas from customers, some by conversation, others from customer support, and many others from Ideas Portal. Which can be accessed by going to the top menu, selecting Help, and then choosing Submit an Idea towards the bottom of the list.
Thank you, Carl. These enhancements are exciting and wonderful. Now, before we go on to our next slide, we have a poll. Okay. Are you aware of the Ideas Portal? Please select your answer. I will play the Jeopardy song. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Now, can we see the results of the poll?
I'm gonna 10 more seconds.
Dun, 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 dun.
Ed, I am impressed with your Jeopardy theme skills.
See what I'm saying? Okay, 85% of the respondents said, nope, what is it? So we are going to answer that question for you during our Q&A session. So our next slide or next subject we're going to talk about is CIP, formerly known as planning. And to do this, we turn to Angie. Angie, take it away.
You, Ed, I couldn't be more excited to talk about this subject. Super passionate about this, all things fixed assets, of course, but this one in particular, especially as we move into 25 and beyond. There are a lot of different projects, capital projects happening out there. I see an uptick across multiple industries. And so there's no better time than now to discuss this. So if we could click through those boxes as we go, that would be great. We're going to start with best practices first, because there's a lot of people that come on here and say, I don't even know what that is, or where do I start, or is that me that takes care of that? I don't know. So let's talk about the best practices first of construction in progress accounting. And then we'll move on to what we're solving within our product. So first, when we talk about best practices for CIP, we're talking about centralized tracking. So a lot of times in my career, I've seen lots of different spreadsheets, and we call quote unquote templates, but they're usually adopted, they're usually large, each project has its own. So we're really trying to centralize in one particular spot that's standard and open communication across everyone involved in those projects. So, consolidate the projects into, to monitor against budgets and their timelines. And then we talk about the life cycle visibility of that. So what does that mean? That means how, can we see from a high level where we are in spend across all our projects, where we are for over under budget? Do we have approval of these things, down to the line item, down to the fixed assets, down to componentization and so forth. So when we're talking about visibility, it's important from a capital project perspective that we can see everything from a high level down to the minute detail level. That's really important and such a best practice. You can't really get that from a spreadsheet. And then we talk about streamlined transactions. And what does that mean? That means that we're seamlessly integrating different transactions and workflows, right? So we're automating the workflows of importing AP or PO transactions, the dollars in and out, against those projects, against those line items, against those expense items even, that all roll up to that project. And wrapping automation around that, which also includes, limited steps for testing and audit, which brings me to audit readiness as my fourth thing. Audit readiness, as we all know, is just a checkbox that auditors, internal, external, come and check against, all of our fixed assets. So when an audit is looking at compliance, or even if it's a SOX 404, they go and they look at the asset additions, and what they'll do is they'll backtrack that, right? And they'll backtrack it to CIP. If you don't have everything in a nice little package for CIP for that asset that's placed in service, then that's where more heavy lifting comes in, more time constraints, more I don't want to comes in. But that is a big requirement, and they go through that. So if we could automate that, that also eliminates those steps and headaches. So let's talk about the problems we solve. Within our application, we solve those disconnected system problems. So that means no more juggling between all these different spreadsheets, separate tools. I know that a lot of people that are dealing with construction progress projects out there are taking those APPO, GL reports, exporting them out, messing with those spreadsheets 11 ways till Sunday, just to get it into something that's another spreadsheet or another system. We take that away. So we do have import tools too that allow you to import transactions, even down to the line item level. We have those capabilities in and out the system to bring that information in. So it's an automated workflow for you. And then we also have the disconnect system, meaning it integrates seamlessly with our depreciation system. Also, what happens is budget overruns. So we see this all the time. I'm, 26 years in the biz. I've seen it everywhere. It's really hard to see those budget overruns when you're looking at a spreadsheet across multiple organizations. If you have multiple locations, then it's very, very difficult to do that. When you have an automated system that's centralized, everybody has access to, it's standardized, you're sharing information and you're sharing communication across those lines. So when you have budget overruns, you can see that a lot more clear within a product that puts that together. And then asset classification challenges. That's a mouthful, I know, but it's also a big workflow problem too. So not only is it hard to say, it's hard to do. What that really means is if I have all these projects across all these spreadsheets and across multiple locations and different quote unquote templates and all this stuff going on, it's really hard for me as a fixed asset manager to see and identify those assets that then become either expensed, capitalized, if they need to be broken down or converted into componentized assets that have separate properties types, separate lives, separate classes, and then even further, or child assets, break them out to multiple assets before they go on my subledger. So these are some challenges that we take care of within the product on that fine line item detail. easily breaking out those assets. And then finally, project complexity. So we can simplify the management of these projects across all different places, locations, projects everywhere, with a dedicated platform for construction progress that's standard. And anytime you create standardization in an organization, then you have more open communication across all those affected. So that's my soapbox on problem solving. So then we dive down into CIP and some of the new functionality that has come out. I'm super, super excited. I myself have been asking for this stuff, so I can feel your pain if you're one of those users out there. But you know what? Wait no longer. So we have a project view enhancement. What does that mean? Oh, this is exciting stuff. I mean, I have goosebumps right now, to be honest. But what that really means is that if you have multiple projects, with most people do, especially in higher industries with more volume coming in on fixed assets, what that means is that in one window, without even going into a project's detail, you can see all the projects in one screen, kind of like you do in the list view of a project, but now it's on a project view. So now I can see all of those that you know, I have access to. I can see their activity, their status, and then I can also export that information out to Excel so that it becomes its own report writer on its own in consolidation. What does that mean as a user? Well, if someone's coming to you and asking where are we and where do we stand across all these projects, high level, and where's our spend today, you could just open it up, select them, and dump it out into Excel and be done with it. Right now, I challenge anyone to tell me how long it takes. I bet it takes a very long time to get that information. So next one on the list that I'm super excited about is line item view updates. So when you go into the system, now you can track these by line items with improved visibility and categorization. What does that mean, Angie? Oh yeah, good question. So I can actually go in and before we could always drag and drop the columns to sort subtotal, that sort of stuff, right? So that's awesome. But now we can customize those views. We can slap those summarizations on the bottom. So like in depreciation, you're used to all the totals summing up and then exporting out. Guess what? We can do that now in CIP. Woo! So super exciting stuff. We had to improve the stack. So what does that mean too? Well, you have to build a bridge before we can get to the other side. So with this project stack, we moved it to the same interface that you're used to, which also means less challenging to come on board. Training is simplified because you're already used to how things navigate and build groups and stuff in the depreciation and tracking product. Now you can do the same stuff here in CIP, which leads me to new licensing. Hey, Angie, this is great. I'm an asset manager, but I'm not the only one who touches projects. And if you're talking about open communication standardization, what does that mean? As a licensing perspective and standpoint, now you can purchase CIP independently of depreciation. Means I can have 5 to 10 users of CIP with only having 1 or 2 users of depreciation, or vice versa. So this is pretty awesome. This is all built by user feedback. So now I'd like to have a poll, right? And you want to lead us through this poll?
Yes, thank you, Angie. You did outstanding. I love it.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited about the new CIP module. Been waiting for it. Okay, so this is our third poll. How do you currently manage construction in progress if you have any construction in progress jobs? Now, you can select from the list there, and I'm going to play the Jeopardy song. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 boom, boom. Now, Courtney, can we show the results of the poll? 60% says spreadsheets. Very painful. I know.
You knew it.
I've been there. Okay, so there is a solution for that. Okay. Now, let's talk about our webinars and users group. Angie, what's the difference?
You know, I'm so excited that you asked that question, and I'm so excited we did that poll ahead of time so I could see the people on spreadsheets. So I want to announce here today, so if you will, we have a CIP webinar coming up on April 10th. We're going to talk about all things CIP. Can someone advance this slide, please? So that what are we going to do? We're going to explore the in and outs of CIP. We're going to dive in. We're going to show the integration between depreciation and CIP to show how flexible and easy that is to do. Second, that being said, we're actually kicking off a new users group. So yay, I want to say, because when I was a user too, that would have been so nice. So now we're kicking off a user group, and we're going to talk about different topics each month. It's going to be the third Wednesday of every single month. Well, there'll be a new topic. Those will be announced soon. They'll be 1 hour long. There will be user-driven topics. So do come with real-world solutions. And even if you are not a CIP user or a depreciation user or a tracking user, depending on those topics, come anyway, because this is a great opportunity to see how the system will work for your situation. Because in everything I've been involved in, if one person has the question, it pretty much goes across the board to everybody's curious too. So these are real world things. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get dirty with it and just find these solutions and answer your questions. The first topic, however, on February 19th is our kickoff, and it's going to be CIP, and it's really going to be talking about, opportunities, best practices. You can see it in action again, real world examples of CIP, like how do I do this? How do I implement this? Where do I even get started? Those sort of things. So come, everyone's invited. I'm super excited. I'll be moderating those, and we'll have other experts within Sage Software on those as well. They will also be recorded, and each time they're recorded, they'll be put up on the Learning Center as well that I believe Carl showed you. They will also be there to be accessed, so that if any time you're like, oh, how do I do asset adjustments on a deeper level, you can go up there, select that pre-recorded one, and watch it yourself as well. So I hope to see you there. And if you want other topics, let us know. Let us know what topics you're looking for, and we can create a user group based around that as well.
And that is now taking us to our Q&A. So please let us know what questions you have about anything we discussed today by placing them in chat. If there are any features you wish to see in the future updates, please visit the ideas portal. We listen to our customers. A lot of things that you're seeing right now is actually customer recommendations. So now we will start our Q&A session. And Courtney, are there any questions that the audience has put in that we need to answer?
Yes, there's several questions, but first I have one last poll for the audience. This is just to make sure that we cover everything you need. So if you would like a personalized demo of this, or somebody to kind of talk you through kind of how it can help your business, please let us know by answering this poll. We'll give you about 40 seconds.
Do I play the Jeopardy song?
You're the king of the Jeopardy song. Go right ahead.
Okay. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Do 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 do. Don 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 don't don't boom boom.
All right, thank you so much. Looks like quite a few of you would love to do an in-person one, so we'll be happy to help with that. As far as questions, Ed, we have quite a few. So one question that hasn't been answered yet is, do you have a slideshow of CIP rather than trying the test period just to get a look around? Do you have like a sample version?
If you already have the depreciation or the client application installed, and say you're a current depreciation user, when you install the client application, it actually installs all of the fixed assets modules. So you will have 30 days from the time you open the application to play around in the application to test the features. And then at the end of 30 days, it will request that you purchase a license.
Okay, great. And next is, when transferring an asset, how do you get the attachments, like an invoice copy, to also transfer along with the asset?
And I'll let you take that question.
Okay, if I heard that right, when you transfer an asset, can you repeat that again?
How do you get the attachments, like an invoice copy, to also transfer along with the asset?
Well, you know what? I have to look into that because I don't want to speak off the top of my head and be incorrect about it.
No problem.
Yeah, let us get
Well,
back with that.
we'll get back to you. Don't worry. If your question is the answer, we will get back to you personally. Don't worry. Next one is, I am very interested in learning more on the asset classification challenges as I need to break out my asset by location and department. What would be the best way to connect with a live person to work with? Well, Alicia, I can answer that. Hopefully you answered your poll yes, and somebody can get to you. I can answer that one for you. All right, and the next one would be, can you tell me where I can find a that one? Please, I'm just trying to find one. You guys have been so good about answering them. Our version of Sage 2023, we did not upgrade to the 2024 version. Or to upgrade to 2025, do we need to upgrade to 2024 first, then 2025? Or can we directly apply a patch or upgrade to the 2025 version?
I can answer that. Oh, go ahead.
Ed. No, you go ahead, Ann.
Sure. You cannot go directly to it. There's a database conversion for all the great new stuff in planning and some other things we added. So you can't go directly to it except from 2024. But there's a couple of quick ways to do it, options for you that you can consider. One is if you don't have a whole bunch of companies, you can certainly just back up your companies. Then uninstall 23.1 and install, or whichever version you said you had, and then install 25.1 and restore those companies. But if you have security, it doesn't transfer security. So the other option is to just to quickly download that 24.1, especially if you're on Sage Advisor Update. It'll appear there as available. Apply it, launch it, close it, and then it'll show 25.1 as available. And then you download that and install it, and you're set to go. So you can kind of step through that 24.1 update quickly if you need to.
Now, one thing to remember is, Ann stated, if you have security set up and enabled in your software, then the best way to do that is to do the progressive upgrade. Go to 24.1, it's going to retain the security, then go to 25.1, that will retain the security. A backup and restore does not transfer the security, okay? That's important.
Thank you for emphasizing that, Ed, absolutely.
All right, the next question is, we currently have planning as a separate software. How do we enable the new CIP within Sage Depreciation?
Well, that's an easy answer. So planning is now CIP. So we've renamed it externally, and that's how we're branding it for sales, but the product hasn't been renamed itself yet. So once you install 25.1, that new planning still says planning on it, but that is the CIP module that Angie was talking about. And in the next release, it'll be called CIP on the screen, but that's what we're talking about. They're one and the same.
Okay. Can transactions for CIP automatically pull from another ERP system, or do you have to manually upload each transaction?
Oh, I can answer that because I was typing it in. So there's three ways that you can do manual, obviously, but there's also an import that's built in to the system that allows you to go through a wizard to import those transactions. And then lastly, there's also an additional add-on if you want more flexibility with that as well. So there's lots of different ways to do that. Hope that helps.
And import is very popular for importing transactions. So definitely.
Yeah, because there's always so many.
Always so many. That's right.
All right. And how do you get pricing on the CIP license?
You can contact your Sage for Life account manager, or you can contact sales and they will get you in contact with your account manager, depending on what state you're in. Then that account manager will then contact you and provide the price and options that you're looking for.
Okay, great. Another question is, we have an issue with our SFA 2024 version, and we want to calculate depreciation. We have to go into our print setup and change a setting, or when we try to process the depreciation, it messes with our SFA. We are in a Citrix environment. Is that the possible reason for these issues?
Yes, when you're in a Citrix environment, you actually have to have your Citrix administrator either set that printer or printer option to a physical device, or you can have them set it to a PDF type printer. It has to have a print driver that it can reference.
And I also believe there's a KB article, knowledge base article on using printers in a Citrix environment.
Correct. And that would engage the Citrix administrator, because no end user will have any options in a Citrix environment to change any of the parameters.
Right.
Okay. Another question is, has there been an update to the Crystal Report software?
The latest Crystal Reports, Crystal Reports for Sage, is 2020. That is what the latest that SAP has out. And if you're talking, is that hopefully answers the question. That is the most recent that's out.
All right. And can a journal entry report or download be created for assets transferred from CIP so that we can upload to our GL system?
You know, that's a great question. Yeah, journal entry download. Off the top of my head, there's not a specific thing that to quickly do that, but I think that's something that we should be looking at doing to help you with those journal entries. And I'd love to have you add it to our ideas portal, or I'll add it and have people vote on it.
Yeah, there's a workaround. I mean, when you enter your line items and everything in, you bring in a GL account number. So we can pull that information out. It's more of a custom report or into the custom, the line items view and then export out. But yeah, like Ann said, there's not like a canned one for that, but we would love to see how you would like to see that look.
And also in your line item, there is a CIP GL number that you can put in that box.
Right. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
You can put in the destination GL number too in another customized field, and then like with that.
And associate it with your fixed assets GL. Correct.
All right. We have time for one more question. How does my system administrator identify the Crystal Report software? I'm currently using the 2019 version.
Go into Control Panel and Programs and Features. And under Programs and Features, you can go down to Crystal Reports and you look at the runtime. And what was the runtime version for Crystal Reports that was in version 2019?
In version 2019 of Sage Fixed Assets, it was Crystal Reports 2016, which was their prior version, right? And there you can download Crystal Reports 2020 from the KB articles if you're still running Crystal Reports 2016 for Sage.
Okay, so I want to end the Q&A session, and if we didn't answer questions from the questions that you submitted, we will get you those answers. Also, I want to thank all of our panelists for their insights and everyone who joined us today. We hope that you found this session valuable. And as a reminder, please reach out to our expert services or learning services team if you need further assistance. And don't forget, join our Sage Community Hub to continue the conversation. We will we'll also send you a recording of the webinar and the slide deck. And thank you again for attending, and have a wonderful day.